Welcome to another episode of ThriveCast. I am so excited that you guys are here. Welcome to the show today. I cannot wait. I am so excited. Welcome to everyone joining right now to today's episode of ThriveCast. My name is Dominique and I am the Wellness Director for Andrews University, and it is my honor and privilege to be hosting this show. Welcome to all of you joining today, whether you are tuning in from the United States or whether you're tuning in from another country. I am excited you're here. Please go ahead and tell us where you're from. I would love to see where you're tuning in from. Type it in the chat. I already see Peru is in the house. Welcome, Peru. Wonderful to see you. If you can, guys, if you're logging in right now, stay tuned. You do not want to miss today's show. I have an incredibly exciting guest that is joining my show today. You do not want to miss this amazing story today. A very, very special episode. And welcome, Las Vegas, Nevada is in the house. Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. I love seeing all your names here. Type in where you're tuning in from. Invite your friends. If you are a student at Andrews University, remember that today, if you're tuned into ThriveCast, you can obtain co-curricular credit. So please make sure you invite your friends. Use that little airplane button at the bottom. Tap it now. Send this link to as many people as possible because they don't want to miss this incredible guest today. So please join. Welcome. I see Colombia is here. Leander, California is in the house. Hello. It is nice to see you guys. So if you're a student, stay tuned. At the very end of the show, you will receive the link of how you can obtain co-curricular credit. All right. Botswana is in the house too. Welcome. It is great to see you guys. My name is Dominique. We're about to launch and get our guest onto the show. I'm tuned in tonight from Hanover, Germany. And my crew today, thank you guys so much, are in Michigan. Jeff and Denard, thank you for all that you do. Please give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear us and see us and if everything is good. Hey, nice to see you. Everyone joining, welcome. This is ThriveCast. So I'm about to welcome our guest on the show, and I can only tell you, you are in for a treat today, and we will have a conversation about the fact that each one of you are made to thrive in your life and that you all are made to speak. And I just am so thrilled that he has agreed to take time out of his busy schedule to be with us today. He has an incredible story. He has moved from different countries. He has a wealth of life experience. And I'm going to let him tell you more about what he has done. So I'm about to pull him onto the show, guys. So let's see if I can get him in here. All right. 1 second. Stay with me, guys. I'm pulling him into the show. Hang in there. Let me see if I can see Chris. Chris, are you here? If you are here, put a little thumbs up. Oh, there we go. I think I'm getting a lot of requests from lovely people to be on my show. I love it. But today I have a special guest. Chris, if you can give me, oh, there you are. Got you. I will get you right now. No worries. You'll get a notification. 1 second. We're almost there. Hang in there, guys. We are almost there. All right. Why you are not showing up on my Chris? Can you go ahead at the bottom and request to be on it? There are two little men or two little figures at the bottom. If you click that and request to be on it, that would be great. So just click that little button on the bottom with the two little figures. And if you click on that, you can request to be on the show. Thank you guys for staying tuned. We're about to have Chris on our show. No worries. We'll work out the technical situation here. No worries one bit. All right. Chris, can you hear me to see if you can request to be on it with those two little figures at the bottom? That would be terrific. I'm trying to find you on the list, but it's not showing up. Maybe try again. We will make it work. I'm confident. Okay. It does not want to find you on here. I'm trying to pull you in. No figures on your screen. at the bottom, Chris, try again at the bottom. If on your phone, are you on your phone? See if you can be on your phone, and at the bottom there's two little figures to pull on. Let me see here. There has to be a way. Real Chris Silber. Hold on. Here we go. Chris, you should be now. You should be getting a notification now, and it's connecting.
Yeah.
There it is. I knew we could make it work. Welcome. Can you hear me, Chris?
I hear you well. Do you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. I'm sorry for all the hiccups, but that's how it works, right? That's how a show has to start in some ways.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks.
Good. Well, I am so happy, like I just said, I'm so happy that you have agreed to take time out of your busy schedule to be on this program. I know you're incredibly busy, you have a lot of projects, and I'm just excited for our conversation. And so with that, Chris, I announced to the group just a little bit about who you are, but I would love for you to tell us, who are you really? What do you do? And where are you tuning in from?
Well, I mean, first of all, human being from planet Earth, and I love being connected with people all over the world, which is actually really great because right here, because I grew up very internationally, and right here I'm seeing that we've got a lot of different continents together, so that's great. What I do mostly in my life professionally is that I'm a storyteller, and I do that at this point, and in the last 25 years of my life, mainly in the fields of film and television. And in my personal life, I'm a dad, uh, raising two amazing kids. And I live in the United States. I've lived many different places before. Grew up in Germany, have also lived in other countries in Europe, and now have been in the US for quite some time, for almost 15 years by now.
Wow, okay.
Been doing my work from here, yes.
That's amazing. So Chris, where were you born?
I was born in Berlin, Germany, actually in the eastern part, in East Berlin. So when I was born, the Berlin Wall was still there, which yesterday was 9th of November, which is the anniversary of the fall. So when I was born, it was still very much alive and kicking, the separation of Germany.
That, this is incredible when you really think about how significant that piece of history was and is, and that you were legitimately there and a part of it. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I ended up being able to tell the story. Like, here's one movie that I worked on that actually uh, talks about, yeah, goodbye
Yeah,
Lenin.
I was going to ask you because I don't know, people here from different countries. Some people may have heard of the movie, some people haven't, but because it's really legitimately right behind your head, because that's what you see. Tell us a little bit about that film, how you were a part of it and what that film is about. I think it's really relevant in the context of what we're talking about.
Was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Foreign Picture, and I meet people in Africa, I meet people in South America who have seen it. I'm told that in several countries it's actually curriculum, like they talk, they give you the story. Hey, someone says their birthday was part of the fall of the Berlin Wall. That's exciting.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's pretty well known. People watch it in high school, like people from Argentina and from Peru who told me they watched it in school as like teaching about European history. But how I got involved with the film was really that they were looking for people who had the East German experience and who were in the writing business. Back then, I was still living and working mostly in Germany, and I still do a lot of my work in Germany. And so they were talking to a bunch of like about 4 or 5 East German writers, which I was the least known of at the time. A good long time ago, sort of at the beginning of my career, earlier days of my career, and
Hmm.
I convinced the director, and then ended up bringing a lot of my personal story into the movie.
That's incredible. I remember seeing the film the first time, and that was before I knew you. So I did not know that you were involved in it. And it was an incredible film. It was such a moving story. It was, and I obviously was born in Germany, but I was born in West Germany. So had the, view of the story from that and the stories that we heard. But it's incredible to see what really took place and to see that from such a personal perspective. And it's really this I mean, you're a screenwriter, and there's plenty of stories that are behind you on the wall, and many others that I know are not on the wall, I'm sure. But you told us a little bit about how you've moved from different countries, and how you've experienced different cultures, and you're currently living in
Nashville, Tennessee. I just moved from LA. I spent 8 years in Los Angeles, and now that a lot of things have changed in my industry, it's actually way more fun to live where I actually want to live rather than being in Hollywood, which I'm not knocking at all. But 8 years of it was enough for me.
that's incredible. I think many people haven't had the opportunity to live in Hollywood. They only see Hollywood, on the screen, and those type of stories. But you just bring up a really good point. Obviously, right now the world is changing. Period. It's changing in so many dimensions, and so many people are at a point where they're asking themselves, what am I doing? What should I be doing? Is there hope? Is there no hope? Where am I at? There's so many questions. And that was really one of the reasons why we started ThriveCast, because we feel, and I truly believe, and my team believes, that every single human being has been made to thrive, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what happens. And so that's really, our main objective here. And I love, because I know some of your story. Tell us a little bit more about your story. If you had to, I'm gonna just throw out a question just to get us started. But if you think about your life, okay, think about an aha moment in your life, any kind of aha moment that you can remember. What was something?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to say, changes in hope and something that you just mentioned. I believe that if you can only shine your light when circumstances are in your favor, you don't really found your light.
Ah,
I think it's very important to understand that. I mean, the very reason we have hope, the very reason we have a purpose in life, is that there's need for it in the world. So if we condition ourselves to believe that we can only have, only shine that light, only bring that hope in favorable circumstances, then we're misunderstanding something. We've given for the very purpose of being there in troubled times, and for people that may not be in a great situation. I myself did not exactly grow up sheltered and loved and happy. I will say it very clearly and very straightforward. I think one big aha moment that I had was probably when I was a child, and I realized that I needed to figure out how to live for myself, because yeah, I mean, we're just going to be full disclosure here. I grew up with a suicidal mother who was depressive and had issues, and mostly on my own father who wasn't present at all. My father never lived at the house for 1 minute of my childhood. So, no siblings, a lot of loneliness, a mother who just was overwhelmed with the job of being a mother. And so when I was a kid and I often get left alone, and we lived in a very tough neighborhood. It wasn't, the streets weren't exactly fun either. There is such a thing as the White Hood too in Germany, believe it or not. So I'm kind of from the hood. And
crazy.
so at some point when I realized that my mother might not make it, because she literally tried to, end her life twice with me in the house when I was still a young teenager. Um, I had to realize that if I was going to live, I needed to create the reasons for that myself,
Wow.
and that's probably something I draw strength from until today. And it then has a lot to do also with my line of heritage, that I have people in my family who went through tremendous suffering. I have a whole Jewish line of heritage. I have people who, my great grandfather died in a concentration. My grandmother was a secret agent in World War II fighting the Nazis and stuff. So there's a lot of lineage that has showed me I need to be. I can be strong because I come from strength. I can be resilient because I come from resilience. Now, I would generally say that for everybody. I have some great examples in my family, and it's surely helped me, and I'm grateful for that. But I do believe all of us can find something in us, in our line, in our blood, that will let us know in times like these, times that are hard, there is a strength in me, and there's a purpose of why I'm here, and I can activate it when I need to.
That is unbelievable power, so powerful what you just said. I was listening to this. I did not know some of the things you just said. And that is incredible to learn about what you just said, where your heritage is, what happened before, and just even those few things you mentioned, they are so impactful. And that sentence you just said earlier, it stuck with me. And I'm pretty sure that Denard is capturing that sentence. But you said earlier, if you can only shine your light during times that things are good, you probably haven't found your light. And I just think that is so important to ask yourself, what is it that gives you that purpose? What is really your light? And at the same time, I love what you said at the end, that regardless of what your circumstances were growing up, and your example, I think, is an example that a lot of people can resonate for different reasons, whether there wasn't a parent present, or whether maybe there weren't any siblings or other challenges there. But regardless of that, you can find inner strength because you have it in you. Everyone has some inner strength in them.
Absolutely, because we're all here for a reason. I mean, of course, like if we just merely exist, if we're on autopilot and we just somehow go on living, we just eat and I don't know what, consume and breathe, then what we will find really quickly is that, and I'm sure someone here has been there, I mean, that's usually what happens when you're depressed or when you're down. You just merely exist, right? You somehow
Yeah.
think next, how I'm going to survive the next couple. I hope I can go to sleep soon. Existent, like mere existence with mere existence is that we're not made for that because we're made with a purpose. So you'll find very quickly that you're missing something, and what you're missing is meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe that our purpose, speaking very generally, I mean, if people ask me what's the meaning of life, I can answer that very quickly. I do believe that the meaning for our existence is to be useful, and that the meaning for our existence is more specifically to shine a light.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, because the darkness happens when there's no meaning. Darkness happens when we're just existing, when we're just on. Um, there has to be a reason for us to be here. Like no matter if people believe in God or not, or like whatever their faith or convictions are, we cannot make it through our day without realizing there's some bigger meaning for all of this.
And this is such a crucial point always, but I think particularly now, I talk to so many people that right now seem to be really, really struggling with understanding or figuring out, what are we doing now? What's happening? Because like you said, I think many of us go on autopilot all the time. And when things go fine on autopilot and we don't have to question what's going on, oftentimes we're content to just settle in the day in and out status quo rut. But when things don't go that way, and like you say, when you really haven't found that light, what do you do then? And I think right now we're at that time where a lot of people are asking that question.
Right. And I believe I just saw the question, how do you renew that every day? I believe the like renewing that purpose or that strength, that inner strength every day is not about necessarily feeling strong every day.
Yeah.
Okay, not to feel strong, but I believe it comes massively from focusing out. Uh, and what do I mean by focusing out? I mean when I decide to be in contribution to others, even though I don't know where to take the strength from, when I find something that I can do to make someone else's day better, or somehow enhance someone else's experience, it always lifts me up. Like when I feel my worst, and it's like that has been my teaching for my whole life. That's what I tell my kids, that what I tell my friends when they're down, it's what I tell myself, or I'm happy when others remind me. Is there something I can do, even in the worst moment, that can somehow help someone else?
It's brilliant. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always, believe it or not, like in your worst circumstance, there's still something you can do. I had to witness that myself. I've seen people die, including people that were incredibly close to me and very important to me. And I've seen someone on their deathbed calling friends and still being there for them.
Brilliant. What a beautiful example. What you're saying right now is a huge practical tip right now. If you feel hopeless, if you're not sure what to do, think about what you can do for someone else. In fact, my background coming from the health sciences, there are multiple scientific studies that showcase that doing something good for someone has an immediate positive impact on your physical, on your emotional well-being. There's a direct correlation of that being there for someone else. I love that. That's great. Great impulse, Chris. Thank you.
To me, that's even, I mean, talk about, is there evidence for higher power? Is there evidence for the divine? I believe that that's my evidence for the divine. My personal evidence for the divine is that if I have this drive, and if this math works, me doing something that doesn't make sense based on mere existence, it doesn't make sense to do things for others. Um, the fact that it does make sense to me and to us as humans, and that it actually can lift my physical well-being, my overall well-being, to me is evidence of the divine, in the sense of that there is a higher power of good in the world.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a brilliant connection that you're making. And I don't think that I've actually thought about it that way, but the way you describe it, how you say it really doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. And that is a great reason and explanation for that. And in that line of things of what you're talking about, and the subject of the fact that we are all made to speak on behalf of other people. In other words, we are all made to actually stand up for the other person. And there's so many subjects this conversation could go into, obviously. But Chris, if you think about your life, you've been involved in a lot of different things. Tell us about an experience where you have been really personally involved with speaking for other people, and how.
Yes. So I've always been very into advocacy, probably from my upbringing, because I've had several people in my family who, despite really tough circumstances, decided to speak and stand up for others. Um, so it's been a theme in my life always, all the way back to East Germany. When there was no freedom of speech then, and certain things, just saying them, you could get in trouble. And so I remember in high school, I started a little debating club, which was actually illegal to do.
Okay.
And heard some friends around me and said, hey, we need to bring some hope into the community here. And even if it's not officially allowed, and if we could get in trouble and could get kicked out of school, it's worth it, because it's important to let people know that they're not alone, because it's an extremely lonely feeling when you're not allowed to say what you're thinking. You're not allowed to. So that was one time that I started doing that, and started speaking for others, um, and that's continued here in the United States through my years here. I've done what I could in many different ways. I had a big initiative to raise funds to build an orphanage in Africa, because that was really important to me. Get kids off the streets. That was in Nigeria, actually, and here in the United States, I've done quite a lot from when the what's now known as the Black Lives Matter movement, but a long time before that, actually, uh, that many years before, I started to become very vocal um, about issues of racism that I've seen in this country, as someone not from here, but very sensitive to these issues. Because I grew up between German, Jewish, the different roots, different languages, and then my wife, who unfortunately passed away several years ago, but she was black, and my children are biracial, and so I felt it was important to raise my voice wherever I could. And it doesn't always need to be. Yes, I have a bit of a platform, because I'm relatively successful in what I do. I've won some awards, so more people listen to me when I speak on social media, or I get invited to speak. But I really believe everybody has some kind of a platform they can use, especially nowadays. It's very important to choose what you spend your energy on, and what you say, and where you can actually make a difference.
Yeah, but it really goes along with that theme that you started sharing earlier, of how you can shine a light, of how you can actually do something for other people. It doesn't always mean you have to go mow their lawn or give them a present, which most certainly you can do as well. But there are other ways of how we can really help people. And one very powerful way is like you just said, many of us in different ways have either a platform, people are listening to you for whatever the reasons may be. It could be in a smaller circle, a bigger circle, doesn't really matter. But if you have the opportunity to speak up on behalf of those that, for whatever the reasons are not being heard, are being mistreated, whatever it may be, we have an opportunity there to shine our light and to do well, which in turn does have a positive impact, not only on the well-being on those that you're speaking for, but also on your own, right?
Well, words are very powerful, as we know, right? Words can hurt people very badly. They can destroy you. I would argue with that because I do believe it's only what you allow to destroy you will eventually destroy you. But I do understand that words can be very hurtful, and of course we've all been there. So in the same way, words have an immense power to build people up.
Yes, yes,
You know,
indeed.
simple example: when someone's on the street asking you for money and you're not sure if you want to give them money or not. Someone's begging and you're not so sure about it. You ignore them and walk past, or do you at least give them a smile and an encouraging word? You tell them, you bless them with something positive. That to me makes a major difference. Do I person as a human being and try to do what I can with the word that I have, with the words that I have, even if it's just a short little thing? It makes a huge difference to just walking past somebody and acting like they don't.
Absolutely. And these are little things that are so powerful that we can all do because we all go places, we all interact with people. And how many times do we really spend most of the day worrying about ourselves, living in our own world, about our needs, our to-do lists, our whatever we're concerned with? And we think that we're investing time to help ourselves thrive, but oftentimes we miss the little things that really will help us thrive and, counterproductive.
In that sense, I do believe we're all speakers, in a sense, because I mean, someone that I really admire and an athlete, and I've done a couple of, one of my specialties in film is I do a lot of movies about sports and athletes because I have quite a bit of that in my background, and so I've had the honor to meet some really great athletes, including a lot of the German World Cup winners and soccer players, a lot of great people, and one of them who I really admire, his name is Miroslav Klose. He once told me that what really matters to him the most and what's always guided all of his decisions in life was that children are watching, young people are watching.
Mhm.
And because people praised Miro a lot for choices that he's made. He's made moral choices, like he would, like say a penalty would be given, and he would go to the referee and say, actually, that wasn't a penalty.
Mhm.
And people were like, how can he do that? Like, how would he risk the game because of that? And he said, because children, people are watching. And I need to give the right example. And so I feel like in that sense we're all speakers because every word you're speaking, someone's listening.
Yeah.
Someone who's been raising kids. My son's already in college now. My daughter's almost 12. They listen. They pay attention to everything that's out there. So for us to understand, my word does have impact on what society I live in, and I will be living in, and my children will be, or the children of our generation will be living, is very, very crucial to understand.
And I love that you're saying that also in the context and in the time that we're living in, that everyone is not just speaking face to face, but everyone is speaking on social media all the time.
Yeah, and someone's listening.
Yep. Someone's listening, someone's watching, people are being impressed of things, and maybe you don't even think about it and you feel like you have to express this, that, or the other. But to think a little further, what it means that you are made to speak also at the same time gives you the responsibility to think about the impact of you speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. hmm And you can, I mean, I always say this to people, especially with social media. You may not have seen any likes or any comment on the last thing you said, but someone saw it. Someone read
Yep.
it.
So that's the truth. Exactly. It's there. It is out there. Chris, when you think about your life, something that I'm really interested in is you've met a lot of amazing people in your life. If you had to pick one of those stories, what would you say? What was one of the most impactful interactions or human being that you've met, and how have they had a big impact on your life?
I mean, primarily it's really more people in my own inner circle that I grew up on. I mean, my grandmother who was a spy in World War II and fought these as as a Jewish woman is probably a very impactful person. My dad, who grew up in exile and went through so much, even though I didn't have the pleasure of actually growing up with him for many reasons of dysfunctional families, but still, like that was very impactful to me. So a lot of people in my own family background, actually, my grandfather, um, and then yeah, I mean, look, I mean, the thing that I've met many of the most famous people on earth because of my work and because of living in Los Angeles for quite a bit. So I've met, DiCaprio and Beyonce and, the A-list superstars. I've met both living Beatles and so the thing is, what's true for most of them and what people usually don't get because they get so quickly just starstruck and into this whole thing of like, oh my God, I get a selfie with them, which I don't do, but because perfect. But from many most famous people that I've had the honor to meet, I will say that one thing that almost all of them have in common, there's always a few bad apples, but one thing that almost all of them have in common is that they have an incredible presence. They're very focused out. They're very present to the moment. So when you're talking to Beyonce for 5 minutes, you feel like every one of those 5 minutes is like an hour because you really part of why she's so successful and what she's learned is to really live in the moment. That to me is a very impressive feature that's across the board, from politicians, people, big economical leaders, religious leaders, to yeah, to a pop star or an actor.
And this is actually, it's a powerful, thank you for sharing that, because first of all, I think it's awesome how you're, like you're saying, you've had multiple great people from the inner circle, from other people that you met, and that you take away things and that you see a pattern there. But I think it's a great lesson too that really relates to well-being, because we do know when we talk about living well that the people who have or develop the ability to be present in the moment with what is going on will live their lives more fully. If you're always wrapped up in the next moment and the next step, and you're not present with the person that you're talking with, or you're not present with what you're doing, you're not mindful about it, you're literally missing out on life. I mean, it just goes by your window.
Yeah, and I've seen it. It's funny enough, I've seen it from celebrities that they actually some of the greatest you could name actors, for instance, really have this amazing ability to make you feel so seen and so heard because they give seeing it written here the gift of time and attention, and it's so true. They let you know this that we are giving you all of
Yeah.
and right, and could that actually enhance our impact, or our success in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, if you think about think about all the projects you've worked on, all the different stories. Do you have a favorite project you've worked on? And if so, why?
The favorite project is always the current project, and that's probably an answer you will get from most passionate. I'm sure it's for you the same thing when you're working on a song. Like it's always the one you're working on right now, always. Because what
Absolutely.
great look, I mean, I've learned to be proud of my achievements. For a long time, I didn't put pictures on the wall, but then eventually I did. Like I'm proud to work for what I've achieved at this point, but and thankful for it. But at the same time, yeah, the one that is in the making right now is always the one that inspires me, pushes me.
Are you able to share much of what you're working on right now or not?
Well, I can mention sort of what I mean. There's a movie shooting in Germany next year, and there's one shooting right now. One is a very big athlete, very inspiring athlete story next year. It's a very big movie and it's a big international famous athlete. I can't say it yet, but that's happening. The other one is a personal story. It's a movie that's shooting in Germany, actually presently in production, that is very, very connected to my own story. because I went through having to, lead my children through a journey of grief of losing their mother, and so I reflected that story and that in a
Mm.
story called Cloud in the Attic, and that movie is shooting right now. And there's also a bigger World War II themed series in the making that will get in production next year. So over the next few years, you'll see quite a lot of more stuff.
Thank you for sharing and giving us a little insight of what you're doing. Excited to see what's coming out there. But you know, going to really truly what I love is how you, and anytime I talk to you, I think this is always present, really the power of the story of every single human being. Every single human being is extraordinary. Everyone is made to matter. Everyone is made to thrive. Everyone has been given an incredible story, and it is our choice how we want to live that story and how we want to express that story and how we want to really integrate people into our story and intertwine with others. And you know what you do is, of course, storytelling through the way of writing and film and telling stories to inspire others. That's how we are inspired. That's how we're transformed. And again, it's about speaking. It's about speaking and telling stories to change lives and to help people live better. How many of us, I mean, people watching right now, I am sure we have been inspired by a story we have read or watched or seen that has massively impacted our lives. I remember actually, I read a book when I was, I don't know, 14 or something. And some of you may remember this book, but it's called Think Big. And it was written by Dr. Ben Carson, who I had no idea who he was. It was not relevant to me. I read the book and it just marked just things that I just had never thought about. And it was really impactful because of a story of his upbringing, of the story, how he told his personal story and his personal struggle and how he then became a thriver. And um, as we're talking about this element of thriving, Chris, you already dropped little, hints here and there of things that you've experienced in your life. What would you say was one of the most challenging times in your life, and what helped you to get through that time?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what I already said about when, the time in my early teens, and I kind of looked back at the strength that I come from, and I drew from that, and then, yeah, decades later when I lost my wife, that was the other, most challenging time, of course, even more challenging. And of course, I was in a different situation because I had children to look after, and I had purpose in my work, and I just really did my best to focus on that and to somehow. I think when life throws you real heavy curveballs, and that even sounds too cute for what I went through,
Sure.
but like when a really nasty tragedy comes your way, I think it's important to um, somehow get to a place of acceptance,
Mm.
because without acceptance, I don't think there's any moving forward. Um, I mean, I don't know. Whoever here has also experienced loss, I don't believe you can live your life being upset or destroyed about the fact that something that a plan was completely. Eventually, you need to get to a place of meaning and say, okay, for some reason, I can accept this. I may not understand why it happened. I may not have wanted it that way. But if I don't get to acceptance, I will not move on, and my kids will not move there to them. So I decided to live in acceptance and to say, you know what, this wonderful um, woman was for some reason meant to be with me for that length of time. I don't like
Mhm.
it, but I get to accept it. If I don't accept it, it's and then we'll be stuck for the rest of our lives in this one tragedy.
Powerful words and important words I can resonate with as well. Even this last year, there's something in my life that I carried around for a long time that I just, for whatever reason, just did not accept. But it's not until you accept a certain circumstance that you cannot change, right? And we have, of course, the very, very well-known verse that tells us that, right? That you need to accept the things that you cannot change and change the things that you can. And but at that moment when you accept, then you can really let go. And that's the moment when you can start thriving again too. Without letting go and without acceptance, thriving becomes almost impossible because you're building yourself walls based on circumstances that you will never be able to break through until you let them go. And right now, I think that many of us, many people are still not accepting the fact that life has changed. Things are different. Circumstances are different. Maybe I have lost my job. Maybe whatever it may be, it is there. But the question is, in order to thrive, can I learn to accept that and do what I can? And what you said earlier, find that inner strength that is there, regardless of the circumstance, to do something in that moment, something that will drive you forward. Chris, share with us briefly, if you had to pick
Hmm?
5 things in your life that have helped you to thrive, whether they're behaviors or concepts, you can choose, but 5 things that you think helps humans to thrive. What are they?
Okay, so I would just say number one would be giving. Just keep giving, as I said, from wherever you can. Number two would be have fun. Um, maybe really the number two, but it's really important to me. Like whatever you do, have some fun with it because we're not here to be sad and down. Uh, Number three would be in contribution. That's a little like giving, but not fully. It's really about, okay, so why am I here? Like ground yourself again in what is it that I can actually contribute to the whole process. Um, Number four would be honor yourself. Um, that means emotionally, like love yourself because you can't love others when you don't do that physically in every way. Like keep yourself healthy, be there for you. And number five, I would say, yeah, never stop loving.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's a beautiful list. And I know, Denard, I know you're listening. Write that down so that we can share it again with the listeners. It's such a beautiful piece of advice that I think people can take out, contemplate what they can really do to change their lives, to thrive, and to also think about, and there were so many nuggets right now that you really just summarized from what we talked about, that giving, that being there for others, contributing to others, speaking on behalf of others. If you have a platform where you have the ability to help someone because you can speak up for them because they can't for whatever the reasons are, we should use that opportunity. And actually, I just want to say it and state that for the record, but it was a huge pleasure to work with you for our Rise Up Against Abuse initiative that we had a couple of years ago, where we had that day. And, it is incredible to see what grows out of a movement where people come together that are willing to speak on behalf of people that have been silenced against their will, and that are finding their voice. And that moment when they find their voice, it's such a beautiful moment that you can share that story with someone, and that can empower again, that person now speaks on behalf of someone else. I have heard stories just from that event, and I know you've done many other initiatives, but I've heard stories where people have been able to break out of their silence, where they felt supported, where they felt empowered, where now they can go forward and change their lives. And so I think that we need to really understand what you said so beautifully earlier, that our purpose is to shine light, and to shine light involves speaking for others. It is to contribute to other people's lives, and it takes intentionality to do that.
Yes, yes, and yeah.
Good. Well, I am just, honestly, we're only like scratching surfaces of topics that, could have a whole discourse and a whole seminar, obviously, on those topics. But I sincerely hope those of you that were listening today, those of you that will be watching it not live, that you can really, truly take a moment today to think about, what is your purpose? Have you found your purpose? Have you found your true light? And if you haven't, go search. Don't just sit and wait for something, but take action and start. If you don't know where to start, start actually contributing to other people's lives, and see what you find in the process of that. And I love that. It gives me another nudge too, to think, what am I doing intentionally to contribute to other people's lives? How can I do that better? And I think we all can on a regular basis, and to think about that. Chris, it is my custom, and honestly, I missed to ask you a couple of questions, but we're out of time, and that's okay. That's what happens. But it is my custom to give the guest of the show the last word. So if there's anything else that you want to say to the listeners as your final statement.
All I want to say is be glad and be positive. Look toward the light. When you're not seeing light, it's because you're looking the wrong way.
I love it. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time, sharing your story so openly, and also, giving us insight into really personal elements of your life. Thank you for that. That is a gift to us. Thank you for what you do and the stories that you tell and what you've done. And I too wish you many blessings for all the tasks that you have. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye-bye, everybody. The link is in the bio for your co-curricular credit, in the bio of the Andrews account. Thank you for being here today for ThriveCast. We'll be back next week on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks, everyone. And let's remember to thrive. Bye-bye.